Okay.
Or Mark now. Community Heart Media. Your voice, your heart, your opportunity. Welcome to tonight's show.
Well, it's Wednesday night again on Community Heart Radio, and it's Mark and Kelly. Julio's off. I think he's got a sore tooth, and what a night for Julio to be missing when we've got a dentist on board, and Julio's got lots of issues with his animals as well. So Julio's missing out on a big night tonight, Kelly, because we're going to talk about animals and teeth. We've never had that combination before.
Well, we haven't, but I know there's a lot to unpack, and I know you might have some unpacking to do about your teeth as well. Here you go.
Well, that's right. I might need some false teeth, but I tell you what, it's going to be a great night. We're solving all the world's problems tonight, and we're actually focusing on an area of a lot of people are very interested in. Esther's got so much going on, we can't even see her, but
there we go.
There she is, famous Esther. And Wei-Yan, it's great to have you here. Why don't we go to you first while Esther's fixing up her camera? You're the dentist, yeah?
Yes, I am. Yep, that's me.
Well, you've got lovely teeth there. Is that part of being a dentist? You've got to have lovely teeth?
Yeah, all part of the advertisement, Mark.
Fantastic. Nice. Well,
nice.
I'm sure
I'm like, what are you
a lot of people are going to ask you about their teeth. And we've already had Sarah come and say hello, which is great. G'day, Sarah. Wonder what your teeth are like. Let us know how your teeth are going. You got any issues with, tooth decay or anything? We're going to talk about all sorts of things, teeth, straightening them up. And Kelly, how's your teeth going?
How's my teeth going? Well, I actually have an interesting story. I have had 10 teeth pulled out, jaw reconstruction, wisdom teeth, and braces. Wow. There you go.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, there you go. So Kelly's got a set of false teeth. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about false teeth as well. This is on the agenda, but we'll talk about Kelly's false teeth a bit later. Esther, great to have you here. You're the expert in animals, and I tell you what, COVID made animals just really number one in a lot of ways, didn't it? You must have been very busy during COVID.
Yeah, pretty much. Everyone seemed to go out and get themselves a pet. So yeah, definitely kept us in business as an essential service.
And so you should.
Great. And we're going to be good talking to you tonight a bit about animals. And I sort of just off the bat, I'm just wondering about the difference between dog owners and cat owners. Do you notice any difference? Is there what is the difference between would you know that I'm a cat owner by my personality, or what would you say the biggest difference between a dog and a cat owner is?
Not really. I mean, a lot of people own both the cat and the dog, but you do have a stereotypical crazy cat lady that comes in every now and then who just seems to like to hoard cats one after the other, and then come in and virtually have no money to treat any of them. So yeah, there's slight differences, but not many.
I wonder how many crazy cat ladies we've got. I wouldn't call Kelly a crazy cat lady, but she's getting close.
Are you giving me a compliment, or?
You're a cat lady. You'd have to say maybe not crazy, but you're definitely a cat lady.
No, both actually. I have one at the moment, but both. Esther knows that.
Okay.
Esther knows
that's right.
Well. Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Well, Jules has said hello too, so we've got a couple of good new guests, people listening. So it's good to have you here, Jules. And we're trying to find out about people's teeth and their pets. So if you could just let us know whether you've got any pets and you've got any teeth, that would be great to know as we start the show.
Are you a cat man or a dog man or neither?
Or a tooth man.
Or tooth man.
Well, I must say, unlike Kelly, I don't have false teeth. So I've got my own teeth.
You're right, but anyway, moving on.
So I've got my own teeth, and I'm not a cat man. I must put that on the record. I am not a cat man. I am a dog. No. I like dogs. I've never, this is just between us, I've never owned a cat in my life. So there you go. I don't know what that makes me, Esther, but I have owned a few dogs.
It makes you a very potential cat owner, cat client in the future. It's never too late.
Never too late.
Yeah, it's called opportunity.
Jules is an interesting one. She has, I don't even know why Jules is on the show. She's got no teeth and no pets.
So
that's interesting. I don't know we've got too many people like that. But anyone else listening that got no teeth, that would be good to hear. Or or if you've got a pet, it'd be good to know what's going on. And whether you like cats or dogs, I'd like to know as well. Kelly reckons she likes dogs, but she doesn't have a dog.
At the moment.
What about you, Wei-Yan? Are you a dog or a cat girl?
I'm a cat girl. Grew up with a cat, and I've got a cat just lurking around the corner there as well. So yeah, very much cat person.
Okay.
Potentially.
Esther, what about yourself? Have you got a dog or a cat?
I've got a cat. He's fluffing around here, playing around. And actually, Mark, I don't know if you know this, but Wei-Yan and I grew up with the same cat. So what does that tell you?
That's a good question.
No wonder I'm starting to sneeze because I'm surrounded by cat lovers. So, anyway, Jules has said it's inspirational, so maybe that's why she's come to the show, so we can inspire her to get some false teeth and get some pets. Actually,
that's true.
Wei-Yan, sorry. Can you just tell us a bit about false teeth? Because I think we've got to help.
Yeah,
Jules
Mark,
out
can I
here
just stop you? Because you're very curious about this
it?
false teeth element, and I'm sort of guessing that you're about to have teeth removed and get false teeth.
That's right.
Or...
No, I just picked up here that Jules has got no teeth. I'm really sorry for her. So, say if she walked into your little clinic there with no teeth, what would you do?
Well, the most common one would be dentures, like basically the plastic full dentures that kind of go that you pop in at night, pop in during the day, and you take them out at night and things like that. These days, that's very, we've got more advanced technology. You can even have your dentures held in by things like implants, which are kind of like screws that go into your bone. Because typically people don't like full set of dentures because they tend to fall out, and people are worried they're going to laugh and they'll come shooting out, sort of thing. So they can be held in by all sorts of things like implants. And if you're not missing all of your teeth, then there are other options like bridges, or single, like if you're just missing one tooth here or there, you don't necessarily have to go for the plastic option. But if you're missing a full set, probably the plastic ones are where you're headed.
Fantastic. Now, look, I think we just do some introductions because we have got a couple of countries represented here, and we've got some family involvement. So,
and can I just ask you first, because I know where Wei-Yan and Esther are from, and I want Wei-Yan to introduce herself. But news yesterday, Commonwealth Games are off in Victoria. What's your thoughts? My estimate is it's going to go to New Zealand. Esther, Wei-Yan?
I didn't even know that was news.
Oh, no. Where have you been? In people's mouths or something all day? Far out. Behind a mask.
But you guys haven't got any money. New Zealanders haven't got any money, have they? They couldn't afford the games.
Well, tourism, that's what they want and that's what they need. Am I right, Wei-Yan?
That's true. Yeah, we could use a bit of that.
Well, it's better to think that you don't have enough money and then actually have enough than the other way around, Dan Andrews.
Well,
that is true.
With all the New Zealanders coming to Australia, we need to encourage some New Zealanders to go back at some point.
Oh,
all right. Kelly and I are out of here next week, then, Mark.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we'll do some introductions. Wei-Yan, tell us a bit about yourself, where you live, and who your sister is.
Yes, so I'm Wei-Yan and I live in Wellington, New Zealand. And I have two older sisters. So I'm the youngest of three. So one is on the screen is Esther, and another sister who lives in Brisbane. So fortunate enough to grow up with two lovely big sisters and a cat, plus parents. So that's me. I've got my wee cat is sort of sniffing around here and getting married at the end of the year, which is quite exciting.
Oh, we'll have to talk a bit about that. Now, would you call yourself, you're called a dentist, or have you got some other flashy term?
No, dentist is good. Keep it simple.
Dentist is good. All right, that's good. All right, Esther, what about you introducing yourself?
Yes, so I'm Esther and I studied veterinary science in New Zealand well over a decade ago, and then I moved to Australia about 6 or 7 years ago, I think. Ditched Wei-Yan. My other sisters joined me in Australia, so there's 2 of us on this side of the ditch and one of us left on the other side. And yeah, I've been practicing in small animals, for the last 6 or 7 years in Melbourne.
Fantastic. Well, Kelly,
what made you decide to be a dentist? Now, I think to myself, I don't know, I could tell you stories galore about my teeth and other experiences. I'm always like, just knock me out. Just do whatever you need to do, but knock me out. All the studying involved in the competitive, like everything about that. What made you suddenly think, I want to be a dentist?
Yeah, really good question. I never thought that I would be a dentist. Wasn't sort of top of my list when I was going through school or anything. Actually, I didn't really know what I wanted to be. I grew up with two parents in the health profession, and so I guess just being part of that family and sort of being an animal medical professional, I was like, oh well, I guess I'll just join the medical profession as well. Went down to Dunedin where they you can do like a first year health science degree where it leads into lots of different medical fields like medicine, dentistry, pharmacy. So I thought I'll just do that and just see what happens. Probably my main goal was to get into medicine at that time. Unfortunately, didn't get in the first run, and I did get into dentistry. And so I thought, well, I guess I'll do this. Which actually I think turned out to be a real blessing because seeing I think what my brave friends who did go into medicine and seeing what they're doing, I don't think I could quite keep up with their lifestyle and things. I think in hindsight, definitely someone looking out for me. The lifestyle is much more suited to me, like much more, just 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 hours, which are quite nice. I get to do things on the weekends, don't have to do late nights and all those sorts of things. So I think, from a lifestyle perspective, it's really nice. I think I've really grown to love it though. It definitely wasn't what I thought I would end up doing. Even studying dentistry, to be honest, in my 4th or 5th year, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if this is for me. But definitely when you start seeing more patients and I think one of the, you mentioned, that you really don't enjoy, you'd rather be knocked out or just I'll pay whatever, just do it. I think one of which is a really, really common thing that we come across. And I think one of the huge joys or one of the real satisfying things to be able to work through with the patient is actually just getting them more confident in a dental setting and being like, hey, let's just start with something really small, and then just working with them and they can eventually they get to stages where they come and they're like, oh, I'm actually really looking forward to my appointment today. And I think that's a really satisfying, when they say that, I'm like, I've won. So
how do you win that? What how do you do that? Because I'm curious, very curious.
I don't know. I think it's just, it's definitely listening, and it sounds a bit cliche, but listening to what the patient actually wants. I think a lot of the time people come in and they're really embarrassed about their teeth. They're worried about being judged. I haven't flossed every day for the last 10 years. And, all those, or I haven't been to the dentist for the last 10 years. I think those sorts of things, really put people off from coming. And I think if you just come in and you're like, look, I've seen it all. Nothing is new to me anymore. Just it'll be fine. We'll walk you through. I think just giving them that reassurance that actually we are here to help. And just
but how do you handle all the bad breath and all the some people's teeth aren't the best, let's face it,
it's double and triple masking.
No. True.
No. Quadruple for you, Mark.
That's right. No, I think I don't know, it sounds pretty bad, but you kind of get used to it, to be honest. I think I'm a little bit immune now.
Chris has got a question for you.
You do get used to it.
Chris has got a question for you here about implants. What's your answer to Chrissy? Look, we're not going to say Chris needs some implants, but he's shopping around for a cheaper way to afford them.
It's really tricky answer. I think every clinic is going to charge a different rate. I think there's no one set price for them. I hate to say it, but if you went overseas, you could probably get something pretty cheap over there. But at the same time, I've definitely seen people who've gone over there, and then unfortunately, we're sort of having to, fix things up on our end, which is never the nice thing to be doing. But in general, it is a really, it's quite a complex procedure and very specialized as well. I think a lot of a lot of specialists kind of do the dental implants, or you have to do extra training and things like that, which is probably why the cost is a little bit more up there. Yeah, just typical kind of pay for what you get kind of situation. But, apart from an implant, there are other replacement options like a bridge, for example, which is generally a little bit cheaper, something that is still stuck in the mouth so it doesn't, there's no risk of it falling out like a denture, but it is sort of glued to the teeth on either side, for example. Those are usually a little bit more affordable. But yeah, pros and cons to both, definitely, like in terms of the implant versus denture versus bridge kind of things. Yeah.
And Andrew Hayden's also got a question as well. He's said a statement, whenever I go to the dentist, they always hurt me. My question is, Wei-Yan, what do you do? Do you have the approach like myself where I just say, knock me out, do whatever you need to do? Or is there something else that you recommend to people?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely voicing to your dentist that, oh, hey, look, I'm really nervous. Again, I can't speak for all dentists, but for me, definitely that, I mean, we try to be gentle to I try to be gentle to everyone, but I think if I know that someone is coming in with a lot of anxiety or like already being quite nervous, and, there are a lot of really, really valid reasons for that as well, from childhood trauma and like, all those sorts of things. So I think for me, I'm like, okay, like, let's just take it a little bit more slowly or something like that. I mean, not going to lie, not everything that we do is going to be comfortable. Yeah, there are things that aren't going to be very nice. But rest assured, I'm not going to go poking around somewhere if I don't think it's necessary, or it's definitely not a part of the job description to like must inflict pain today. But yeah, unfortunately, it does come with the territory a little bit. Yeah.
Well, you've got a whole lot of drills and things like that, so obviously there's a bit of pain attached to them. Now, we've got a question for Esther. It's a sort of a dental question from Bree about animals. Can they get false teeth?
I've never been asked that. Yes, I've never been asked that question before.
Good question, though.
I assume that they could get false teeth if you're willing to pay for them. I've also never met anyone who has asked me how much that would cost, because I guess if you're struggling to afford implants in your own mouth, then you may not be thinking about getting it for your pet's teeth. I have read reports of animals getting false limbs, so I don't see why they can't get false teeth. But yeah, but we don't. I personally don't do that. You'd have to go to a dental specialist,
a veterinary denture or something. They'd probably like swallow something like a denture.
You know what? I think they would just like chew on something and then swallow their own denture, and you'd find it in the poo somewhere, or it would obstruct them, and then you would come back to me, and I would open up their intestines and pull out those implants and charge you another few $1,000s.
And Kelly, Chris has got a question for Esther as well, eh?
And also to Esther, what is it like being a vet? Is it something that you always wanted to do?
Yeah, good question. I did actually always want to be a vet, unlike Wei-Yan. So growing up, I always liked animals. I like science. Mum and dad from the science or the medical background as well. So I was pretty set on doing vets from, I think, at least high school, if not from younger. What is it like? I really love my job. It's very varied. So before I was in Melbourne doing small animals, I worked on the farms back in New Zealand. Was mostly a dairy vet. So if you talk about Wei-Yan having to deal with smells every day at work, I don't know, like working from the dairy sheds, all day, and then the back end of a cow. I mean, they also don't really smell, any better than a human's mouth, I would imagine. And you do kind of get used to it, I have to say, as well. And we didn't double or triple mask back then. So yeah, it's super varied. No day is the same as the day before. And yeah, I love it.
Esther, and when I went to med school myself, at Otago too, and one of the things I remember thinking about was, could I ever be a vet, and what's something that I couldn't do? And the one thing I said I could not do was to be putting down an animal, or to be watching someone in so much, how do you deal with that, Esther? What do you
I think seeing the bigger picture of what animal euthanasia actually is, and I guess it's putting an animal out of their suffering, of which we can't do a lot for. So unlike human medicine, where you can do a lot of say chemotherapy and palliative care and 24-hour nursing and that kind of thing, for animals, it's just not possible. We just don't have sometimes the funds, the funding, the technological advancements and all that kind of stuff. And we also can't explain to them why this is going on and the benefits from that. So yeah, seeing it as like our final service and a way to kind of end their suffering in a gentle way is the way to do it. And I think also comparing that to other suffering that we can do something about, I think that upsets me more. So for example, like the dental issue, animal coming in with a lot of teeth that need to be extracted, or rotten teeth which are causing abscesses and pain, and then a person not wanting to do that for the animal or not being able to afford it or refusing treatment, that for me is actually harder than putting down an animal that is at the end of its life, has end-stage renal failure or cardiac disease, which we can't cure, and it's time for that animal to go. I find that not as difficult as sending home a patient with a mouthful of teeth that need to come out and not doing anything for them because the owner has declined. If that makes sense.
Very, very true.
Now, you've got a very, your family is quite, high-powered family you've got there. A lot of high-performance people in the family. I mean, Esther leads a pretty busy life. You're a dentist, another professional. Is the whole family geared up to take on the world and do these professional roles?
Yeah, who do you think we get that from, Wei-Yan? Esther?
I definitely think it's from my dad. Although mum's a pretty power woman as well. I suppose maybe in different respects. Our other sister is not in the medical profession. She is currently tackling homelessness as an engineer, and something to do with data that, let's face it, we all don't really understand what she's talking about.
Know. We don't know.
None of us know, because we all deal in medications and calculations and medical things. But yeah, she's definitely trying to save the world in her own little corner, which is, yeah. Okay, well,
Amy's got a little bit of a question here about how your parents feel about you choosing these careers that have the highest suicide rates. I didn't know that. Yeah. Did you know that, you guys?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
We've actually had, I remember, I don't know if you remember, Wei-Yan, we had a little bit of an argument. We never had any arguments growing up, and we still don't. But I said, did you know that vets have the highest suicide rate in the world? And then Wei-Yan butts in, no, dentists do. And he said, no, it's us. No, it's us. No, it's me. No, it's me. We do ourselves more than we. And Dad comes into the room and was like, guys, settle down. Or, oh dear, what have my daughters got into?
Probably not something that you want to win.
That's right.
And why do you think dentists have a high suicide rate? Is it the the bad breath or what?
Yeah, just one too many. Good question. I actually don't know what the current stats are. I almost feel like it has come down a little bit with dentists. That's my general understanding, but I don't really know the exact stats. But I think in general it is quite a high pressure. I mean, it's hard to say, because I mean, I feel bad saying like, oh, my job's really high pressure. Like, I'm sure everyone goes to work like, I'm very stressed at work. Like, everyone has good days and bad days. I think, again, very, very general, like dentists or people who go into dental professionals can be classed as quite A-type personality, so very perfectionist, and they want things, or we want things to go like really, really well. And if they haven't gone like absolutely perfectly, which obviously it's the human body and nothing's going to go absolutely 100% perfectly all the time, but basically like it never will, I think we can put like a lot of that on ourselves, or I think it's very easy to not own a patient's problem, but when you see a lot of like, oh man, you just really want to do it for this person, or like, oh, this didn't go the way that I planned, or maybe this person isn't very happy with how things turned out and things like that. I think that people, we can take quite a personal toll on that. So I think that's, again, very general terms. I think I think maybe that has something to do with it. So
what would you say is below being
what about the vet?
Being a dentist, what would you say?
What about the vets, Esther?
Sorry.
We're crossing
Kelly,
over here, Mark.
Kelly,
I
you
was
finish
going
first.
to say, Mark, Wei-Yan, what do you think is the low being a dentist? Like for yeah, well, what are some of the challenges that you face, or when you go, actually, that hasn't been a good day or a good week?
Yeah, I think, it seems to come in waves, like, I guess, again, like any kind of job, but I think sometimes you do get weeks where you just like, oh, I just don't know what's going on with this person, or like, we've seen them multiple times and, like no one can get to the bottom of this problem, or definitely patient complaints take a big toll, I think, if someone isn't very happy, and that you've tried your best, and or if that, okay, maybe I could have done this better, but the stress of, oh, okay, like, well, now where is that going to leave the patient, and where's that going to leave me, and how are we going to sort of get it, make the best of this, not so great situation. I think those are definitely the lows. I think that's probably
I
the
was going to
main.
say, what do you do when you might have either side of clientele? You might have the perfectionist with my teeth, like me, seriously, where I do everything and still have to, multiple visits or whatever. But then you've got others who may be smoking, drinking, all those other things that they recommend not to do. How do you deal with either side?
Yeah, that is really hard. I think, with the latter, for someone who doesn't necessarily take care of their general health and then their oral health as well. I think that is really hard. You can recommend a lot of things, and unfortunately, costs can definitely play a factor into that. And that can be really hard. I mean, I'm not sure about in Australia and New Zealand, there is like, some funding, but not a lot. So most of it is privately sort of funded, which is really difficult. I think that's really tough. And so, some people can't afford to come back and get things done, and then they come back again a few months later and the problems escalate. And I think that is really tricky. I think, again, to protect like myself, I suppose it's trying not to sort of own the problem, but also just trying to work through, okay, what's the most realistic, best thing for this person? It might mean, removing a tooth, which is generally a bit cheaper than maybe spending a couple of grand trying to fix it, which, might not be the most ideal situation for everyone, but for that person, maybe it's this. I think it's sort of taking it person by person and just really saying, okay, what's going to be best for this person? Very tailored, customized plans. With the people who take really good care of their teeth, obviously that can be a little bit easier from like a 6-monthly or yearly perspective, but I think, and not to scare anyone, but I mean, there are also like really unfortunate things that can happen with people who have perfect teeth anyway. I mean, there is wear and tear. I've had patients come in with no fillings whatsoever, and all of a sudden just a tooth is cracked and we have to extract it, literally just from wear and tear or grinding or something like that. And so that's quite that can be quite difficult news to deliver. People are like, oh, I've been coming here, for years, and I look after them like, oh yeah, but unfortunately nature's kind of taken its course as well, and it's no one's fault. No one could have really prevented it, apart from maybe just not eating or liquid diet or something like that, which no one really likes that recommendation. So, that's right, no one really goes for that recommendation. So
Mark, how do you look after your teeth?
Well, look, it's great having you guys on the show. It's 98.9 Northwest FM. It's Community Heart Radio, and we've nearly finished the first half hour, which is really exciting, because in the second half hour, we've got our top 5. But given we've got 2 people here, we might have top 3. And really what we're going to want you to do in the second half hour is give you top 3 tips to people about their teeth and top 3 tips for people about their animals. So we'll get ready for our little top 3s after in the second half hour. But for those that are watching the show, we love you watching the show, and you might be interested to know how the cricket's going. Unfortunately, Australia's lost a wicket. Down 1 for 16 was the last score that we found out here. And one of the openers, Usman Khawaja, has gone out. So that's not good at all. But anyway, we'll see how we go. And but Chris had a bit of a question, a bit of a weird question. I think that's right.
Mark, is the Ashes. Yep. So for anyone who doesn't understand that, there you go.
Oh, the Ashes, yes. If you don't know, Australia's actually playing England tonight. And New Zealanders may not realise that, but Australians are very much watching the cricket, I think, a big thing over there. But anyway, Chris has got a question, another bit of a weird dentistry animal question. Chris, do the animals go to the dentist? Is there any dentists that deal with animals, Esther?
Yeah, you're looking at one right now. Whose name is not Wei-Yan. So all vets are trained in dentistry as well. So we're all pet dentists. Some of us are actually horse dentists as well. Yeah, so all vets, particularly in the small animal clinic, if they're general practitioners and not specialists, specialist surgeons or specialist oncologists or whatnot, they will do teeth as well. And that's something that a lot of people don't realize. We're basically everything. I am the GP, I am the radiologist, I am the surgeon, I'm the pharmacist, I'm the oncologist, I'm the dentist, I'm the cleaner, I'm everything. So yes, animals do go to the dentist and they should, but not just me, it's all the other vets as well, all the other remaining vets on this earth. Yes, and you should take your pet to see us. And we'll check the teeth and we'll remove any extracted teeth, we'll clean them up for you.
Esther, you touched on a point then, all the remaining vets. Do you find that you're short of vets for new graduates or those who are actually working in the profession?
That's right. So there's always a shortage of vets worldwide.
That's not really surprising.
Yeah, I mean, maybe similar to like the medical profession, doctors and nurses and, maybe even teachers and things often in short supply. But yeah, vets tend to cop it quite bad with shortages, especially maybe Australia and New Zealand. I can't really speak a lot for other countries, but I think it would be pretty similar, especially in the more Western nations. One is obviously, the output, so training up enough vets. There's usually less veterinary schools than medical schools, and the number of vets per sort of population or animal population can be like the ratios maybe not so good. I think there's
I wonder whether Amy, who just gave us a message, I wonder whether she's a vet or a dentist. She seems to know a bit about this burnout and suicide of vets and dentists, eh?
That's definitely a factor as well, burnout. Yeah, and as we talked about the suicide, that can be an influence. I mean, maybe similar to dentists, Wei-Yan, I'm not sure, but a lot of us are female. So at some stage, people go off and have kids, and they might come back in just a part-time capacity. Or they might not come back again if they're just doing other things. So that can contribute to the workforce shortage as well. We definitely have a higher percentage of females in the profession than most.
And Amy's just touching on, sorry, yes, she was a vet, but she escaped, so interesting reflection. Interesting.
I wonder what Amy's doing now. She might be... what she's doing, Kelly.
She might be a dentist.
Jobs. Might be no, she wouldn't be a dentist. Maybe she could get into community work, maybe, or something like that. Andrew had another question about what can we eat that's good for our teeth. Not all the lollies and chocolates that some of us eat.
Yeah, very good question. I mean, I think, again, not to be boring and cliche, I think everything in moderation. I mean, you can't have too much of a good thing. But I mean, I always tell my patients, we always want to sort of cut down on the sugar and, acidic kind of food and drinks and things like that. But I mean, I have chocolate and I have fizzy drinks, and, just because I'm a dentist doesn't mean I avoid all those things as well. So yeah, I think definitely, it's fine to treat yourself with those things. I probably wouldn't put, Coke in your water and go sipping that all day long or something like that. One thing I quite like to tell my patients, it's more about sort of the frequency at which you're having things as opposed to how much you're having. So, if you're going to be having a block of chocolate, like I'd probably
eat the whole block
day. I think it's probably going to do more damage to your teeth if you're having, call them grazers, if you're like a grazer or a typical kind of student who has the energy drink on the desk and is just sort of sipping at it all day and things like that. I think that's definitely going to have more of a toll than if you just sort of down the whole thing and be done with it. But I think in general terms, like what's a, good and bad food, and like I think, high sugar content, high acid content. You know, I mean, even for some people that might mean hard foods is bad for their teeth if they've got, you know, really brittle teeth or weak teeth or something like that. So yeah, I think good or bad can mean a lot of things, but yeah, very, very generally that's sort of yeah, the things I tell my patients.
Wei-Yan,
Yeah.
is there anything that you would recommend? We see all those ads about certain toothpaste and toothbrushes and everything, you know, sold through
Yeah.
and chemists. Are they any different than another? Or, you know, suddenly you want white teeth or something like that? Is there anything that you say
Yeah.
don't worry about, or actually you need to be buying and using regularly?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I won't claim to know all of the toothpaste and, you know, toothbrushes out there. And again, different dentists might have different views on this, but my opinion is sort of like, I think if it, you know, the main sort of content in the protective content in the toothpaste is fluoride, if we're talking about decay and, you know, avoiding decay and preventing that. So I think as long as we have a, you know, the standard amount of fluoride, which will come in any sort of Colgate, or I don't know what you guys have, Colgate or Maclean's or Oral-B or something like that. You know, any of that range, I think will be fine. Sometimes the whitening ones will have a little bit of like peroxide or a little bit of whitening agent in it, but whether or not that's going to be effective for everyone, I think is because, you know, they can only put in certain concentrations or whatever if it's going to be sold over the counter. So, you know, they may be less effective than what you get from your dentist, which is more, I guess, prescription if you're wanting whiter teeth. It's quite funny. I was buying an electric toothbrush for my fiance, and I was at JB Hi-Fi, and I was just browsing, and then the store girl came up to me. She's like, "Oh, like, do you need any help?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just browsing." And she's sort of putting all the ones out. She's like, "Oh, this one has a good flossing action, and this one is really good for white teeth." And I was like, I don't think so. It was quite funny.
Yeah.
I let her do her little spiel, and I was like, okay, thank you. I'll
Good
just
sales
get, you know,
pitch.
the mid-range kind of one. Yeah, well done, but I don't think so. But yeah, so I think, to be honest, a lot of my job is just trying to get people to brush their teeth twice a day. Like, a lot of time I don't really care what they're using. So as long as it has fluoride, if it has bristles, like, awesome. You know, for a lot of my patients, I do like the electric brushes, just because I think they're more user-friendly. You know, you don't have to worry about your technique. I think manual brushes, a soft manual brush is great if you know how to use it right. I prefer a manual brush myself, but, you know, if you're not going to bother with, you know, what you're doing and angles and all that sort of stuff, I think probably an electric brush is going to do a much better job, again, in my opinion. But yeah, there's a lot of range out there.
I suppose
very confusing.
Wei-Yan, it's all about you're trying to change the world and make it a better place, and that's what Amy is trying to do, and that's what we're trying to do at Community Heart, is make the world a better place. So Julio, Amy made a comment there, changing the world for the better, and I think that's a good thing for dentists to do, and also our vets people. Hey, just a question from me to you, Esther, is that in the old days we just used to give the dogs a bit of pal and just a bit of food, didn't really care what we gave them. They used to eat it, and everyone was happy. These days, we're spending a fortune on feeding dogs all this amazing food. The old pal's gone out the door, and we've got all this exotic food for our pets now. Is that because dogs have changed, or, I mean, what's going on? How come we've got to, you know, take the dog to a gourmet restaurant these days?
Oh, well, the question is, like, do you actually need to do that? And yes, you know, social media and ads on TV and things will say yes. But, you know, your vets would probably say no. I think pet nutrition is a whole can of worms, and, you know, we could spend 2 episodes on that if you liked. But yeah, in a nutshell, I mean, similar to what Wei-Yan has said, most dog foods or cat foods, as long as they're complete and balanced, and they don't say, you know, for supplementary feed only or feed occasionally, then they'll be totally fine for your pet. And they just come in different brands, shapes, colors, prices, qualities, that kind of thing. The main difference between the different brands, if they're all complete and balanced, is the quality of the ingredients. So again, you usually pay for what you get. So the higher quality brands will usually cost more and have a bit more fancy packaging. And your ones like PAL, they'll still have the same balance of ingredients. So your dog will still be getting all the nutrients it needs if you feed according to what it says on the back of the pack. But they might have, say, you know, just chicken protein for the protein content rather than Wagyu beef protein, or like freshly caught New Zealand salmon protein. but they still got the same amount of protein for the dog. Yeah.
Esther, what are the common things that you see coming through most often in your clinics now with any of the small animals that you would be saying, giving recommendations to?
Well, definitely, and it's not just because the show's on teeth, but definitely dental issues is one of the top things. Over 80% of cats and dogs do have dental disease. Not all very severe dental disease, but it does range, of course, from mild to severe. And it can be very hard for owners to recognize that or even think about that, because dogs and cats will usually eat right until the end. Like they won't stop eating. They'll eat on one side, they'll eat on the other side, they'll eat through the pain. They don't show a lot of pain, even oral pain. So they won't necessarily let you know if there's an issue. And it's not uncommon for us to be doing a general check, a vaccination, and you lift up the lip to check the gums, and there's a horrible smell, and like the teeth are falling out. Like today, actually, I had.
Can we teach our dogs to wash their teeth? Like,
no, but you can teach. You can teach owners to brush. You can teach owners to brush their teeth. That is true. Not the dogs, but the owners. On their behalf, you can get doggy toothbrushes. If you're going to do that, I recommend. Yes, that's right. Good photos. I recommend doing it from an early age to get the pets used to that, not just coming in at 10 years of age and then being like, this is your new life, brushing your teeth, every day. But brushing is the gold standard for maintaining oral health in cats and dogs, just like with humans.
All right, we're going to get into our top three for both of you. Community Heart's top three things, and we're going to start with the dentist, your top tip for all of us, and going to get Julio to listen to this in the background there. What's the number one tip for those of us that got teeth?
Yes, I think definitely your general regular checkup and hygiene is really important. I think people, again, I don't know about Australia, but I think people in New Zealand often don't think that they need to come in unless they have a problem. It can be very hard to convince people that, general, just yearly or 6 monthly, whatever is recommended by a dentist, a regular checkup and hygiene is really important. Again, I tell my patients it's like cleaning your house. If you do it once a week, it's going to be way less to do than if you're in your house for a whole year and you've got to pay someone to come in and clean it up for you, and spend lots of money and time, and there's mold growing in the corner and stuff like that. So just general maintenance is a good way to go. So that would be number one.
How often could someone come in for a checkup, Wei-Yan? 6 monthly, yearly?
I think good question. I think it definitely does depend on the individual patient's what we call decay or caries risk, or gum risk as well. So, but I think in very general terms, it is usually, say for a healthy mouth, maybe once a year for a checkup and 6 monthly for a hygiene. Some people will be yearly for both. Some people will be 6 monthly for both. I have patients who I see every 3 months for a hygiene just because their gums are not in good shape. So it is quite individual. But for a healthy mouth, generally 6 to 12 months, I'd say.
Okay, what would be your second tip as a dentist for those of us that got teeth again?
So second tip would be, even though there's no pain, doesn't mean there's no problem. So teeth are really sneaky. They like to sort of brew and just sort of lurk in the shadows, and then all of a sudden, you can get pain quite suddenly and quite excruciating as well. And unfortunately, if there's pain, it usually means that the problem's too far gone. So, you probably, if you come in sort of, a year earlier or something like that, maybe there was a better chance of us saving the tooth or spending a lot less money to save the tooth. Whereas, the longer you leave it, even if there's no pain, the number of times I look at my teeth with my magnifiers and I don't see anything, and then I take an X-ray and there's a whole bunch of stuff under there. It's pretty incredible. So that's where your regular checkups are important. But just because there's no pain doesn't mean there's no problem. Would be number two.
Okay, the first tip's going to the dentist. The second tip's going to the dentist. What's the third tip?
third tip is be nice to your dentist when you go. So we're not fortune tellers, we're not magicians, we're just humans. There's no crystal ball. We can't, predict too far in the future. And so, when we say, look, this is a recommended treatment or something like that, it's really hard to say, look, you're going to get, you're going to have this and you're going to carry it to your grave or something like that. Nature will do its thing. Every patient's going to respond differently to everything. So, for me, I just do my best in my job, and then, sometimes we do just have to watch and wait to see how things are going to turn out for an individual patient, depending on the procedure. But we're just humans, so treat us nicely, please.
I've got a question actually for you, Wei-Yan, because people's perspectives. When I say I'm a vet, the typical response is like, "Oh, you must love animals, and kind of like you must be so kind-hearted and gentle and caring and loving." And Wei-Yan, you're my sister, like you're my younger sister, so that that's not always the case. But that's the perspective of me. Because my clients, because they hear that I'm. When you say that you're a dentist, what are people's general responses to you about that?
Yeah, it's a real conversation stopper, I'll tell you that. People are just like, "Oh, cool," or like I actually find it quite amusing.
And then do they ask a million questions?
Yeah, they do sometimes, but I quite like actually being like, "Oh, I'm a dentist," and then just watching for their response. I find that really funny, because some of them are like, "Ooh," and they just like sidle away. And some people just pretend to be really interested, like, "Wow, that's so awesome." I'm like, "Is it? Do you think that?" So it's definitely a mixed response. It generally does come with some sort of horror story that they've had. I'm like, "Okay, cool. Like, I don't really know what you want me to do about that, but I'm sorry that happened to you." So it's interesting. Again, I'm kind of used to it. Very used to patients just coming in and sitting down and saying, "Don't like you." I'm like, "Cool, don't like you either." Like,
feeling mutual, mate.
Yeah, I'm the one holding the needle, so maybe you want to change your opinion of me.
Well, Yan, it's great to have your top 3 tips, and I suppose the 4th one would be to wash your teeth every day, twice a day.
That's right.
And for those people that know about the Ashes that's going on at the moment, Australia versus England, we're 1 for 36, which is, at least we're getting a bit better there. Esther, what about you and your top 3? What would be your first hot tip from for people that've got animals
with teeth? Just to remember that your pets have teeth.
Yep,
so
pets
need dental care too. I think that's something that's often forgotten, because you don't see their teeth very often. You don't think about them. Like I said, they don't show pain, so it's easy to forget and worry about all the other bits and pieces of the animal. But they definitely need care too. So once you've gone to get your yearly checkup and your 6-monthly hygiene clean, give some thought to your pet and their mouth, and wonder if they need some treatment too.
Esther, is it for my young cat Charlie? Is there anything I should be looking out for, and for any of our listeners and viewers out there who have got small animals and sort of, like Wayne was touching on, sometimes the symptoms come up a year or so later? Is there anything we should be looking out for?
Yeah, it's actually really hard for cats. Like, I actually don't expect people to be looking at their cats' mouths. I can appreciate that's fairly hard to do. If you've got a dog and an obedient dog and you've trained it from young, then I think, definitely flipping the lip and just having a look and a smell and that kind of thing would be fine. But I think, Kelly, for you, it would just be, at your yearly checkups and the vaccinations, just having a conversation with your vet about it. How's his teeth doing, that kind of thing. You can brush their teeth. Cat's teeth. Some clients are really good and will come and say that they've been brushing their teeth, every second day. And I take my hats off to them. I say, that's amazing. It is gold standard, but I don't expect everyone to be able to do that. So you can always give it a try.
You got to feed your cat, don't you? You got to feed the cat.
Well, yes, that is correct.
You can get dental diets as well for cats. With issues, but I think at this stage, when they're young, it's just your regular vet checkups.
Okay, what's your second tip there, Esther?
Second tip is more of a, I guess, maybe like a fun fact, is that the smaller the dog, in general, the worse oral health they tend to have. And a lot of people don't know that. So your smaller breeds, your Jack Russells, your little white fluffies, Maltese, Shih Tzus, Shih Tzus, whatever, Chihuahuas, Scottish, whatever, they tend to have just poorer genetics for their oral health, and they will need more treatment than, say, your Labradors, your German Shepherds. It's just a trend, so obviously there's outliers and things, but a lot of people don't know that. So if you have a smaller dog, I'd be paying close attention to its dental condition. And obviously as pets age as well, again, that wear and tear, eating and drinking, all the pets are more likely to have dental disease as well. But people tend to kind of appreciate that, but they don't really recognize the size difference and the size bias. That and greyhound.
Your final tip, Esther, for
my
us
final
animal owners and lovers,
would be put aside some money for your pet's dental care, because similar to humans and dentistry, vets aren't subsidized. Veterinary care, dental care for pets is not subsidized by the government, and it can add up. We need to put animals under anesthesia to do any dental treatments, even a general clean or scale and polish. They need to be under anesthetic, which, as you know, doesn't come for free. And so you have to pay for that. You have to pay for the hospital stay. You have to pay for the actual clean, and then any dental x-rays and extraction. So the bill can go, upwards of $1,000, $2,000, depending on how many teeth need to come out, how long they're under anesthetic for, all the additional medications. So I'd say from day one, start, especially if you've got a small dog, start putting away some money. So when I tell you that the dog needs to have how many extractions or a dental treatment, you'll have that money there for them, and you wouldn't have to.
We've got a big focus on teeth and animals for your vet update there, but that's okay, because obviously it's quite important. Now we're coming to the end of the show. It's been fantastic. Melissa's got a comment, Kelly, that we might want to read out.
Yeah, Melissa has a really good point. The owners of pets are often surprised at how much happier their pet is after dental workup, and do not realize the impact the rotten teeth and dental disease was having on their life. Very, very good point, Melissa. And I was just going to say as well, I can definitely attest to Esther in terms of, having to put that financial backing behind, where I had my cat Charlie just before Christmas decide he was going to eat half a puzzle. And so having to race him to the after hours vet, and that was a costly experience. So I can definitely say these animals like to be eating anything too, and we have to be prepared.
I have a follow-up story from Melissa's comment there. My boss, and he loved dentistry and dogs. He said he had a really good client who complained that he just said that, after 4 years old, my dog finally grew up and he stopped chewing on the garden hose. After 4 years, he was like a puppy until then, chewing. And then my boss saw him one day and said, look, it needs to have a tooth out because it's all rotten. Boss did the procedure, took the tooth out. You know what? The next week he was back chewing on the hose. So it wasn't that he grew up. It was actually he had oral pain. And the owner thought, he's actually just matured. But he actually just had pain in his mouth, so he didn't want to chew on the hose.
There you go. Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, we've learned a lot about teeth tonight, and even teeth with animals and our own teeth. What's been your biggest learning, Kelly, from tonight?
I think many things. I think what Wei-Yan and Esther actually touched on both in terms of their roles. I think it's really good for everyone to be mindful of just the different lows and highs that those professions, people have to be considerate and mindful of what they're doing. So, yeah, I think it's a big takeaway for myself.
Yeah, it's been great. And Esther, what would be your final comment? Maybe just taking our mind off teeth at the moment, but just generally, what's the main presenting issue for you at the vet for people at the moment with their dogs and their cats? What's the main thing they're bringing them there for?
Interesting. I mean, winter is usually, I wouldn't say super quiet time, but we don't have one particular disease that we're always seeing, like an itchy dog or something like that. So I guess, general health checkups and desexings would make up the bulk of our work on any given day. But yeah, I would say, take your pet to the vets with a bucket load of cash, and you can't go wrong.
All right, fantastic, Esther, and I really appreciate you being on the show tonight. I know you got a pretty full schedule and very busy life, and it's great having you here. And Wei-Yan, all the way from New Zealand, it's fantastic having you on Community Heart Radio. What would be your final sort of comment for us?
Yeah, I think sort of what we've touched on already. Yeah, go along to your dentist and be nice to them. Also what you said, which I actually forgot to say, but brush your teeth. Brushing your teeth twice a day. Trying to get some floss in between them would be awesome as well. Actually, something I forgot to say, which is my new pet peeve at the moment, is sparkling water. I don't know if that's a big thing over there. But because what's causing the bubbles is like
carbonation,
acid, right? So yeah, so actually sparkling water, go for the tap water. That'll be my last point. Go for the tap water.
It's free.
Fantastic.
It's free.
Have you got any more photos for us, mate? I love that one with the toothbrush. You got anything else with the dogs or the cats or hang on, the dentist? Yes.
Nice. That's really selling me.
Oh, these are very good, Julio. So, Kelly, what's your final comment before we end the show tonight?
Oh, just thank you so much, Wei and Esther, for coming on the show tonight. Really appreciate it. I think it's really important to highlight everything that you do for our community members. So thank you for joining our show.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks very much, and have a great night. And don't forget to watch the Ashes tonight, supporting Australia against England, and they're 1-for-47. Imagine that, Kelly, eh? I'm sure you'll be turning the TV on, watching our batsmen out there against the England trying to win the Ashes.
Or I'm just thinking, I wish I was in England where there's sunshine. That's what I'm thinking.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
A little guest appearance.
All right. Well, Amy thought you said some good things, Kelly, so that's good. Good old Amy. And Jules, without his teeth and without any pets, he thought the show was pretty good too. So maybe we've encouraged him to get some teeth and some pets.
Audience,
so that's all right. So it's great. Been really great having you guys and really good interaction. Thanks very much. See you next week on Community Heart Radio, 98.9 Northwest FM.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. Tune in every Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. or watch us on YouTube, Facebook, and follow us on LinkedIn and other social media.